I've got beef with this mushroom. Hold on. Let me back up a second. I've forgotten my manners. Welcome to the chicken-legged hut. They call me the Fool. Now, listen, these mushrooms right here, they need a permanent timeout. Bad mushrooms. I'll come back around to this because this is actually not the first time we've made a self-sustaining terrarium. Today we're going to show you each of our terrariums and you'll get to know why this mushroom deserves to live in a jar for all eternity. A little while back, the Hermit was wandering in the woods as one does and found this ball of moss. He had the idea to make it a home in a jar and asked me to help because I've made larger terrariums before. More on that later. The first of the jars was a short one. The shade of the lid blocked the whole sun. It made for low light which the plant didn't like. To the bro fight we then bestowed some. Sorry, couldn't help myself when the beat dropped. By that though, I mean we swapped our little moss ball friend into a taller jar. I'll give you the rundown of the process while he works on this one because mine is going to require some storytelling. Making a terrarium like this is a fairly straightforward process and it can be done without spending any money at all if you can be resourceful and pick things from outside to put in the jar. We start with a drainage layer of rocks, then add some mulch and twigs, which our ABG soil can sit on top of. ABG is a mixture of tree fern fiber, moss, charcoal, and bark which drains well and retains moisture. You don't need to have any particular kind of special soil to make one of these yourself, but if you find critters in your soil, that's probably ideal. The ABG we used in either of these jars were bioactive samples that I had with some springtails and isopods living in it. These bugs are commonly referred to as a cleanup crew for reptile enclosures that help to break down waste and organic matter. We gave the critters a calcium supplement block, and this jar got a nice, big, tall, headstone-shaped rock, basically just for aesthetic value, along with the moss ball's original rock pal. We filled in the remainder of the space with more ABG soil, twigs, oak leaves, and so forth. All of these will be food for the springtails and isopods. Springtails also eat mold spores, and both of the critters will eat the carcasses of their fallen comrades. In theory, they'll have a self-sustaining population and clean up after themselves. By spraying everything down with water, the water will drain through the soil, but also evaporate, condense, and come back down, providing a full water cycle, and the jar can stay sealed forever. Theoretically, at least. Only time will tell if that will actually be the case or if everything dies in the jar. But as a final touch, he added a little magic bean which we got for the low price of one infernal chicken from a goblin who obtained it by potentially questionable means. Stick around to find out how this looks after a couple of weeks, but with that, the first jar is complete. Now this right here, this is my little buddy. His name is Boot. He's a 5-year-old male boa constrictor imperator, a little under 8 feet in length currently. He's an absolute sweetheart and I love him, so I've got him set up with a bioactive enclosure, automatic UV lighting and temperature controls using timers and temperature probes, and a big boy basin with a water filter on it for him to bathe in and drink from. His enclosure has undergone several iterations over the years, upgrading in size and complexity for his well-being and enrichment. Once a critter like this reaches a certain size, there's no longer any good options for things from pet stores that are both functional in his enclosure and aesthetically pleasing. You have to get creative. His water basin, for example, is a food-grade container for catering large portions of food to many people, and I zip-tied a water filter to the rim of it. His hidey hole is a mannequin torso made for displaying t-shirts that I've cut to accommodate his entry and egress, and I used bamboo stakes and twine to make things for him to climb on. Despite what anyone may tell you, boa constrictors are semi-arboreal, and he does enjoy using his vertical space. I've planted a handful of plants in his enclosures also. The plants don't last long, but they look pretty and he enjoys them until he tramples them to death. The thing about having a strong, heavy snake is that if he doesn't like how I've arranged something, he'll kick it around until it's in a position he prefers. Ask the now dead, once live bamboo I put in there what position that is, because it sure as hell wasn't standing upright, and he doesn't care how well you anchor anything, because once it's in his space, he will do with it as he damn well pleases. Well, the other day I came home and discovered these little bastards growing in his substrate. My first thought was, how did fungal spores survive the cleanup crew, the springtails and isopods I mentioned earlier? And the answer is that they must have had a downturn in population prior to the mushrooms growing, but once there was a sudden fungal growth resulting in a wealth of food, the bug population exploded. So the second question I had was, how did they get there? Was my substrate contaminated out of the bag? This is an outrage. Then I started connecting all the dots and I realized, despite washing all of the soil off the roots of the plants that were once in his enclosure, some dormant spores must have made it in when I transplanted them. The old Trojan horse routine. It's been a while since I put any plants in there though, and the majority of his substrate has been cycled since then, so it's still crazy that somehow, some fucking way, some teeny tiny little piece of the fungus must have come in and survived, dormant, until the conditions were just right. Boot recently flooded his enclosure by hanging out of his tub and allowing water from the filter spout to run over his head and back and down into the substrate. I wish I could say it was the first time he's done this, but it's not. Boa constrictor intelligence is a funny thing because the boa's taxonomical family evolution diverged from the majority of other snakes like pythons, which are their closest relatives, in the age of dinosaurs, 79-ish million years ago, with localized divergence separating constrictors from others in the family Boidae. They've been shown to recognize things and people, learn, solve problems, and delay gratification for preferred prey. They can even weigh risk versus reward, so I can say with a degree of confidence that he's done this on purpose because although he's usually a little sweetie pie, he's also occasionally an asshole. And that's how we got mushrooms. These mushrooms are called flower pot parasols. They are toxic to humans and animals if ingested, but they can actually be an indicator that the soil is healthy and biodiverse. So it could be a good thing if I was only growing plants and insects in the enclosure, but I can't risk him ingesting some spores and possibly getting sick, so I had to take all of the things out of his enclosure, clean them, remove the mycelium contaminated soil, and add new soil back in with cinnamon mixed in because it's antifungal. When I carefully removed the contaminated soil, it came with a lively culture of bugs who were looking fat and happy. The whole hazmat process was fairly involved. It's not something you want to be surprised with after working all day. On the bright side, these mushrooms are kinda cool when they're harmlessly exiled into a jar forever. Anyway, that's the project all but wrapped up. I just have to clean up the sides of the jar, hose it down with some water, and seal it up. Stick around to the end to see the growth shots from after the terrariums were sealed. As always, if you've enjoyed watching, please like the video and subscribe, or be cursed to have uncontrollable bouts of jazz hands. Also, if you've made it all the way to the end, comment about your favorite plant, because engagement is the greatest gratuity to greenhorn gagmen like us on YouTube.
Come on.